I always take my toll, blood or gold.
My name is Winter, a small hobby streamer and YouTuber. I've been playing exclusively multiplayer games since I was around 7 years old. I don't really enjoy a game that is not a multiplayer game. I love meeting new people from all around the world. I like cooperating with other people in game, and sometimes I am guilty of indulging in the art of trollery and flaming towards other people. For me, being able to open a game on my computer and have the ability to potentially form a bond with people from all around the world is amazing, and it's 50% of the reason why I fell in love with MMOs in the first place. I owe my fluent English and knowledge of extremely niche esoteric words to gaming, for example medieval weapon names. Throughout the years, I was in love and hooked on many games such as Prison Tale, Gunbound, RuneScape, Guns, and many more. Each game formed many memories for different parts of my life that go with me until this day, and the soundtracks of these games will forever bring up a mixed feeling of sadness, nostalgia, and bliss. I was never highly addicted to games since my parents always limited me, and were smart enough to educate me about the importance of loving nature, playing outside with friends, and being a good student. Have no doubt, as a child, if I were not to be limited by my parents, I would for sure neglect friends, school, and anything that is not gaming, because to me it was the most superior way of spending my time. Games were a true portal to endless adventures and a constant, everlasting dose of dopamine. As I grew up, gaming took a smaller part of my life, as other interests such as guitar and working out flourished, and slowly the relationship with gaming became healthier without me understanding it. Don't get me wrong, it was still one of the main things I loved doing in life, but I wasn't interested anymore in the long grinds and giving up meeting friends or practicing a new song on the guitar. My priorities slowly shifted to more healthy ones. At the end of 2015, a friend told me I should join him in a game called League of Legends. I remember the day I pressed download and installed the client, which by the way was so good compared to the terrible clunky client we deal with today. I remember queuing up for the first time. I really loved Ashe and pretty much only played her for a month or two. I was hooked. I was completely invested in improving in this game, and the competitive nature suited me. League is not for everyone, but whoever gets hooked can become highly addicted to it. As I said before, I experienced addictions to other games, but something about League of Legends is different. The model of long games that result in either a win or lose, and for example the need to end the session on a win, makes people dive into long hour sessions that many times end up with negative feelings, madness, and low-key depression. This model was completely different than any model of any other game I played before. You cannot really log on to League for 30 minutes before school or before the workout. It's not like RuneScape where I could quickly log in for 20 minutes or do long grinds where all I do is just fish or woodcut and have the time of my life AFKing watching Netflix, finishing a session totally calm and happy. Here, the competitive nature and complex community, to say the least, make this game insanely hard to grasp and handle in a healthy way. Before playing League, I had a year or two where I barely gamed. I was very invested in self-improvement at the time, obsessed with getting girls, and gaming became not so interesting. Then League came. I was completely addicted, almost in a non-healthy way. I remember flying to Berlin with friends, not even being able to really enjoy the trip because I couldn't stop thinking about League. This is when I realized it went too far. When I came back home, I deleted the game. 5 hours later, I queued up again. Honestly, I realized I shouldn't have deleted it at all. This is not the way I handle these situations, and in general, I don't think that cutting something out at once, especially an addiction, is the right way to go about it. Obviously, this is an individual preference, but I'm speaking about myself here. I did decide though that I'm not going to invest as much time in League anymore. I resorted to more guitar, running, and hanging out with friends. If there was an evening where I could grind 6 hours solo queue or go out with friends, I would choose going out with friends and hitting on girls, even if I was not in the mood. Soon enough, I came back to a healthy relationship with the game. Then college came. I was legitimately scared that I won't be able to put in the work and succeed in courses because League will be more interesting and appealing. I was happy to find out that League became a very low priority. I loved studying. League never came over studying for a test or meeting friends ever since. When COVID hit, like everyone, suddenly I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I decided I'm gonna try and stream, and this was probably the smartest decision I made. Since then, I don't really play League off stream, which made me cut my League time in more than half. After finishing my bachelor's degree, I went on to my master's degree, but kept on streaming, purely as a hobby. What I didn't realize is that I'm actually becoming way better in League since I started streaming and essentially was playing less games every day. The reason for that was that on stream, I would want to be the best I can for my viewers and set an example by not flaming and tilting, and that by playing 3 to 4 games a day, I never reached burnout, would rarely tilt, and completely without knowing, developed this super healthy relationship with the game. In 2021, after being hard stuck platinum for like 4 seasons, I hit diamond for the first time. And now before season 14 split 1 ended, I hit masters 150 LP for the first time. I know I'm not exceptionally good at the game. I know I make many mistakes while playing, and some of my hypotheses in this video might be completely wrong. But I think I have some good practical tips for people on how to resort to a healthy relationship with this game, and if it matters to you, how to climb to a higher rank by playing way less games every day. If I were to define what being an expert or a high rank means for me, and not only in League but in anything in life, I would suggest that the top 5% is a good place to start from. For example, the top 5% annual salary makers in the United States stands on $335k, which is the entire Riot RP shop times 34.6. When you look on the top 5% of the League of Legends rank distribution, according to League of Graphs in 2024, top 5% is Emerald 1 and up. So if we try to form a consensus on what is a high rank for the wide population of League players, meaning the entire player base, the ones that play for 1 year, 10 years, 20 games a day, 1 game every 2 days, if you achieved Emerald 1, you definitely achieved something impressive and you are in the top 5%. So why is there such a huge debate and toxicity over the definition of high and low? I think that like everything in life today, the picture we form in our minds on a given subject is dictated by the media we consume. Let's take our average Heimerdinger main. Bro is stuck in gold for 6 years now, has a somewhat unhealthy relationship with League. He's toxic at times, he dreams of reaching plat one day but simply does not improve. Also, let's call him Albert from now on. When Albert gets into bed at night, he opens Twitch and watches a challenger Heimerdinger main, and he is absolutely sure that this is the standard of gameplay he should aspire to. Now, Albert is a busy guy. He plays soccer, he just started college and has a new girlfriend, so at best he can grind 5 games a day. And even that means he has to skip class now and then, and sometimes is unable to go on date night with his girlfriend to stay and play with the boys. Albert will never be like our challenger Heimerdinger streamer, because it is highly likely that our challenger Heimer streamer is not really doing much other than playing League of Legends. Also, let's base the notion that most challenger players dedicate insane amounts of time for League to reach challenger and to maintain it. I'm not shitting on the top 0.0082% of League players. I actually admire them, but for most people, this rank is simply unreachable. This is because if you are interested in being a good student, having a full-time job, relationship and time for other hobbies, you can't put in the time to improve to these levels. But since Albert watches the highly gifted Heimer mainstream every night, hear him talk shit about grandmasters and masters as if they are low yellow every time he gets them in his lobby, and this is a very widespread thought, by the way, in the highest yellow player base, he develops this underlying pressure to prove himself on the Rift and get out of gold yellow. Obviously, if you're a competitive person in your nature, you will also just have this basal aspiration to go up in the ladder rank. But the basic thought of League community is that you're always in ELO hell. Once you reach plat, you want diamond. Once you reach diamond, you want masters. Nothing is ever enough. So just to quickly sum up before we move on, a high rank can be a subjective and objective definition, but in my opinion, in order to arrive at a healthy relationship with ranked in League, you must be the only one to define what is a realistic dream rank that you'll be happy with. Obviously, once you get it, you're gonna want more, but first get it. This whole Albert rant leads me to my next point, which is finding your 50% win-lose ratio. In League, Like in every competitive game, by design, you are destined to stabilize on a 50% win rate after enough games. Luck streaks or loser skew streaks are balanced after enough games. And at the end of every split, if you are playing more than a couple hundred games and creating a large enough sample size, you're most likely ending on the 50% margin with a standard deviation of around 3 to 4%. This sounds like a paradox to improvement, because in order to go up the ranks, you're gonna need a win rate that is at least higher than 50% to not break even. So putting aside LP gains and losses for a moment to pass my point, let's understand that high win rates are seen in a few instances. If you buy a Smurf account, you're gonna have a high win rate until you reach your peak rank, and slowly it will converge to the 50%. Another instance where we see exceptionally high or low win rate is in accounts with a small amount of games that do not represent the player's actual abilities, but rather are a product of a lucky streak, a good duo, or just bad luck. In this case as well, as you play more games, you will converge to the 50% win rate. Now, again, by design, Riot benefits from an active community, and the rank model encourages players to grind in order to finish a split higher ranked than they were before. This is because if you put in 500, 1000 or 2000 games in a split, even if your win rate is slightly positive, LP speaking, you're up a good amount, which means you went up in rank. Also, the more games you play, theoretically, you are supposed to improve. All of what I said is important to pass the point that if you make the effort to maintain an above 50% win rate throughout the season, slowly you will go up in ranks. Do not think that a 50% win rate is bad if you manage to maintain it for enough time. You know, this is for, and I'm saying that in regards to people that flame in game and bring up your stats as if 51, 52 or 53% win rate is something bad. It is actually great and means that you are for a fact improving. But how could you actually improve in this game? And by improving I mean climbing to a higher rank and developing an understanding of how this game works. By all means, I am not a coach, and if I were to pay a coach to train me, I would take the highest ranked coaches out there, so this advice is based on my limited league knowledge. Throughout the years, I gained some experience, and from analysis of my own games and mistakes, I slowly developed a sense for the different fundamentals in League of Legends. I'll do my best to keep this part short and practical. In these games there are a few groups of players. The first group is a purely for fun group. These are ARAM or normal mode players with no interest in ranked. They go on with friends or by themselves, play games for fun, without too much incentive and aim to improve. The second group would be consisted of mostly new players that do want to play ranked but are complete newbies with zero knowledge. They are usually in very low elo and have not yet developed the toxic clique culture of flaming, rage quit, etc. They are simply innocent ranked players. I remember I was there once as well. Oh, the memories. The third group has Exit the Matrix. This is the group of Sigma males that are all professional league players. No matter their ranks, they know everything, never make mistakes, usually coach all 4 other players simultaneously in game, and are certain that they know it all. This is me, probably you, and most of the ranked community. Now obviously, I'm exaggerating here, but I think you understand what I mean. The third group is the group that passed a hypothetic no turning back sign. They play League to win. They want to climb, and rank can sometimes influence them in a negative manner. And obviously, each player is affected in a different level. My tips are relevant mainly for the third group, that generally has the interest in climbing and enjoys competitive gameplay. Let's say you pass the no turning back sign. Each of us passed it in a different rank. For example, I got to silver back in the day without any interest in really improving. I was completely detached emotionally and mentally from this game. It was a purely for fun game. At this point, I belonged to the second group. Suddenly, I decided I want gold. When I became aware of my rank, I started asking myself, how can I improve? I remember watching pro player VODs at the beginning. As insane as it sounds, this alone made me a much better player. Just the ability to see how a talented player moves, farms, helped me break one bubble. So tip number 1 is to watch VODs or streams, of course only if you like doing that, of other talented players, and try to spot habits and implement them in your own gameplay. I would say this got me to gold. What made me leap from gold to platinum was probably the understanding of the importance of farming. Not even farming well, but rather farming good enough. In low elo, People farm for 5 minutes and then go on to break a nuclear warfare in the mid lane. The game quickly escalates into a chaotic war zone and farm, or really any logical playmaking, is eliminated. The day I stopped following dumb calls, hung out in lane and actually tried to farm my way to 1 or 2 items, I became a lot better. And as a result, I reached Platinum. Farming, for example, is a fundamental in League that has levels to it. Last hitting properly, wave management, and tempo backing. At the moment, I am purely speaking about actually trying to last hit. At this point, no wave management or tempo backing was even existing in my mind. From Plat to Diamond, after like 2 years of struggle, what made me cross the barrier was the understanding that for the amount of games I play, which was 2 or 3 games daily, I had to narrow my champion pool and the lanes I played. In Plat, I was queuing up in all lanes, switching mains every other Monday. When I stopped doing that and resorted to one lane, focusing on 2 to 3 champions max, I managed to hit Diamond. I resided in Diamond for 2 seasons before I was able to reach Masters. I'll be honest, Masters was my goal rank, my dream rank. In season 13, I hit promos a couple times and failed, but I wasn't even close to the level of gameplay I achieved in season 14. My turning point from Diamond to Masters was rooted in my decision to solely play one champion, and that champion only. And since I'm a masochistic person, for some reason, I picked the most boring, outdated, outperformed champion out there, SIVIR. Turns out it was the best decision I could have made. First of all, SIVIR is a simple champion to grasp. She is mechanically simple, and what I love about her is that her weaknesses force you to play her in a certain way that for me was important to grasp deeper understanding of League. Before I continue, I'll give a short rundown. SIVIR is a very mobile and, as I said before, outdated AD carry from 2009. She is invisible in game up until she holds 3 items. But oh, there is a but. Once you get 3 items, you become a lawnmower on the Rift. You can run down enemies 1v5 sometimes, and that feeling of 3 item supremacy is worth all the prior 25 to 30 boring minutes. Now, if you're not a real champion until 3 items, if you still decide for some reason to play SIVIR, you have the incentive to absolutely master some game aspects in order to win, such as perfecting farming and last hitting, understanding wave management and making every second on the Rift count, and be as efficient as possible. These principles directly got me to become a master tier player. Also, and goes without saying, the fact I stuck to one champion made me master the champion itself to a very high level. So to sum up this point, I'm here to push you to play less games but make the best out of them. That way you will climb ranks and free up more time for IRL important things to progress your life. The optimal way of improving while not playing many games is narrowing the champion pool, learning to last hit properly, learning how to manage waves, and preserve high tempo gameplay. On top of that, the most important mental shift I've gone through, and is probably the hardest one to implement, is that you are never the victim of a lost game. Do not seek who's to blame for the loss, do not coach them in chat. The truth is, in a lost game, you probably made mistakes yourself. Hell, maybe you're unaware and you're the reason it was lost. So the solution to that is to leave the victim mentality behind and develop a mentality that is not based on blaming and looking for what others did wrong, but rather what you could do better. Period. Embrace this in League and honestly in life, and you're likely to get far. It takes extremely hard work to genuinely adopt that mindset, but once you do, you're invincible. Now remember, each of these principles is an art in itself, but many talented streamers are showcasing it every game they play. I have to credit Nemesis, which is probably the streamer that led me to improve the most in all of the principles I've described. Another fantastic streamer that is an absolute artist in maining the hell out of one champion is SolarBaka. But these are just 2 that I like, that when I find time, I love watching, and they directly contributed to my improvement in game. I'm sure that there are many more that specifically stream gameplay of your preferred lane and champion. When talking about the right amount of games, I will say that probably there isn't an absolute value. For me personally, at times I'm super busy with my research and I can put in 1 game a day. Sometimes I have a lot of free time on my hands and I can invest more time and even play out 5 ranked games in 1 day. So there is a general spectrum. I would say that around 2 to 3 ranked games daily is a good middle ground. This amount is perfect for me and allowed me to climb. Before that, I did 11-hour grinds, sometimes 15 games a day, and I would end a session up 1 LP or down 100, Worse than that, because of my dependency in LP games, I'd become mad, sad, or a bit depressed and treat the gaming session as a complete waste of time. The more sessions you have like that, the more the relationship with the game becomes toxic. But I know, some of you don't really have other shit to do. You're in a point in life where 15 games is what you do. Well, I've been there. A part of me is even jealous. But let's say it is indeed 15 games a day. Try cutting that in 2/3. Do 5 ranked games a day. Fill your spare time with other things that give you purpose and meaning. If you don't have other things, find them. Read books, play an instrument, and go exercise outside. That way, you will resort to a healthy relationship with League and take care of your real life. Quicker than you know it, you finish those shorter sessions because you have something else to do. League is not the main focus for you anymore, and your toxic relationship with the game has changed. Let me give you a practical tip that worked for me on how to get to the point of a healthy relationship with League. As I said, as time went by and my time for League reduced, I noticed I enjoy playing the game more. I improve, and as a product, I climb ranks. So the first and main tip would be to limit your session in advance. Not by stating how many games you're gonna play, but rather set plans for a certain hour, that by then you're done with League. Schedule a workout with a friend, something to do with your girlfriend, or just decide that at 6 you're off to cook dinner. That way, good or bad session, you're gonna be busy right after, and League is not the main focus anymore. Also, let's say you are in loser's queue. When a session is short, you simply lose less games. The next day, the loss streak is over, and you're back on that LP gaining horse. The second tip, develop a healthy game habit. League community is very unique to say the least. When you put people behind screens, especially newer generation youth, they can be very rude and edgy. The amount of games I lost before they even started because someone typed in champ select a comment and some other dude replied and it escalated into an argument is countless. It can also happen in the exact same way but in-game. A very simple solution to that is to spot the edgy cool kid and simply mute him. The way I go about it is to mute people if they talked a lot before the game even started or just spamming useless things when nothing is really happening. Those mutes, no doubt, save me from tilting or responding in a lot of games. Find the thing that helps you. When I'm in full focus mode, I mute all and take the risk I will be less cooperative through the pinging and chatting system. I'm being cynical of course, since pings and chat are used for flaming and harassing most of the time. The last thing is, breathe. When something dumb is happening, when your teammate dies to an invade, when your meat completely runs it down, just fucking breathe. Most games are not decided unless people's mental deteriorate and they give up. I don't need to tell you how many games you thought were 100% lost and were won at the end. No matter how many times it will happen, people will keep tilting and possess a weak mental. This is also a huge subject that I might elaborate my opinion on one day, but for now, let's conclude that the 3 tips for a healthier relationship with League is to set a time frame for gaming, refrain from useless chatting by ignoring or better yet muting, and just breathe. Remember that if you stay mentally strong, most of the times, even if you did not win, you improved. To wrap up all I said, I would like to finish with a final conclusion. League is just a game, so do not take it too seriously. At the same time, if you do want to take it seriously, choose your battles correctly. Do not take other players seriously, take yourself seriously. If you want to learn the concepts I mentioned, and many other concepts of the game I haven't discussed, try looking up guides on YouTube, or even better, at least in my opinion, pick a solid streamer with a good attitude to watch and learn from. If you do take my tip to lower the amount of games you are gonna be playing every day, narrow down your champion pool. Maybe even become a one-trick pony, but really master this small amount of champions. A very important rule before choosing a main is playing a good amount of games, around 50 games, to see if number 1 you enjoy it, and number 2 and most importantly, are you improving at it. Lastly, I want to say that the paradox of playing less to reach higher rank is easily solved by the fact that when League stops being an unhealthy component of your life, you simply play better. I hope you learned something new and maybe even try to implement some of the subjects that I've discussed onto your League journey. If you want to watch boring until I reach 3 items SIVIR gameplay, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitch. Please comment if you have any questions or anything that comes to mind that you wish to share. And until the next one, bye.
Yonder.